Can the Indianapolis Colts upgrade the linebacker position with limited resources this offseason? Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network around. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode every game day during the NFL playoffs. FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Hick, your resident film nerd of HorseshoeHuddle.com and your favorite co-host here at the Locked On Colts podcast. Jake is unable to join us, but don't worry. We have an action-packed show for you guys. I'm going to dive into some of your guys' questions remaining from last week's Q&A episode, and then I'm going to close out the show with a brand new, mostly daily topic that we're going to do, which is a prospect spotlight. Each show, we're going to try to end our third segment with a spotlight on a certain prospect in the draft cycle that could fit the Colts, or a player that either me or Jake are very, very excited about, and we're going to kind of give our pitch to you guys. And today's episode is going to feature a player that is very topical for everything going on in Indiana this evening. But to start it off, we're going to talk some Q&A from you guys from last week when we put out the call for questions. First up, how do you think better linebacker play could affect a player like Nick Cross if he is re-signed? That is from Dylan Combs in the Everydayers Club. And yeah, I think if Nick Cross is brought back and hopefully at a more reasonable deal than what I think he could get with the Trayvon Moore contract last year, like I think Cross could get upwards of like $15 to $16 million per year, which is I'm kind of opposed to it. But if he's brought back at a modest deal, then I think that, better linebacker play just helps everyone on the defense, especially Nick Cross. Maybe there were times last year where he was overcompensating for poor linebacker play in coverage or poor linebacker play just in general, and it led to more mistakes on his end. So it could free him up to be more responsible in his own zone coverage assignments, be more responsible in his own man coverage assignments, not asked to do as much in the run game. And it can make him more of a weapon, more so than a need to be perfect all the time type of player that he was kind of for most of last year. And when his play plummeted down the stretch, it led to the Colts defense kind of plummeting at times as well. So yeah, I think Nick Cross could be much better with better linebacker play. I think the whole defense could be better with better linebacker play, or at least faster linebacker play. I don't think their play at linebacker needs to be, this otherworldly Fred Warner type of player in there. It'd be great to have one. But just having a guy who can click and close a little bit faster, who doesn't miss tackles, who can get to their landmarks and coverage a little bit quicker, I think that would be a big asset to this defense overall. Next question here, though. With the Colts having poor linebacker and pass rush room and a corner that may retire or could retire at any moment next season, what is the best use of our second-round pick? Bo paints a beautiful picture for the future of the Colts with that question right there. But, I think part of kind of what he's alluding to with that question is we should use our second round pick somewhere on defense. And I fully agree with that. Unless there's this top 10 talent that falls out of the first round for, people not going to his birthday party or something like that. And that's like a receiver or an offensive lineman, then you take that player. But you want to just aim at defense. I think overall, anywhere across the defensive line, linebacker, even corner could make some sense. I tend to push back a little bit on corner because you're expecting Justin Waller to be back. You're going to get Sauce Gardner back, and there's still an outside possibility that Mooney Ward will be back, although we'll know by draft time, obviously, what happens there. So I don't think you need to spend a second round pick at corner, but certainly, again, defensive tackle, defensive end could make a lot of sense. You always want to build up the trenches. That's such a big part of playing in the NFL nowadays. But I think if there's a linebacker worth taking there, and this appears to be a very good linebacker draft class, I would tend to go linebacker with that position. The Colts have been very good at identifying linebacker talent, especially in the past. Chris Ballard has shown that he kind of has an eye for the linebacker position in the draft. So I think I would tend to go more linebacker with that draft pick, more so than edge, which Ballard has missed a lot at edge rusher, or defensive tackle, which would kind of be more of a luxury pick. I think an outside the box kind of one, though, could be safety if Nick Cross walks. Getting a strong safety who can maybe fill like a Nick Emenwari type of role in this defense. Not saying that you can find a Nick Emenwari because that guy is special out there in Seattle, but having a guy who can kind of fill the role of being, an early down box safety guy, a guy who can come in and play some will linebacker at times as well, who can be a tight end eraser if you need him to, can be an extra blitzer, kind of like the plus version of Nick Cross in this defense. I think that could be a really good fit for what the Colts are looking for. So I wouldn't rule out safety. I would tend to go more linebacker. And if there's an edge rusher that you fully believe in, like, look, we can't bypass edge rushers even with Ballard's horrible drafting record at that position, because it's just so important to get pressure on the quarterback. So I tend to go defense with that. And my gut feeling so far would be linebacker, but I think there's so many different ways you could go with a second round pick for sure. Last question for the first segment here, though. Is edge rusher something that is patchable in free agency, or is it something that we need to trade for or draft? That's a good question by Nick there. Yeah, you want to ideally draft and develop edge rushers. Now that's been a tough thing to do with the Colts in the last 10 years with a certain person at general manager, just because the edge rush drafting has just not worked out, whether due to injuries or just not having the right players at the right spots. But the Colts are kind of in a situation where they have to use free agency, where they have to go get, young players coming off of their rookie deals with organizations like a Boy Mafe, like Arnold Ebiketie, like those type of players, and kind of buy them at their lowest point for, money that's probably more than what they're worth, and hope that they can play back up to their draft status that they didn't play at the first time around. I think that's kind of the situation they're at. I wouldn't really go into trading more assets, just as the Colts have already traded 2 first-round picks for a defender, and you just don't have many quality assets to throw out there. Then again, if you're trading draft picks, you're probably getting an older player in here, and the Colts need to get younger and faster, like Chris Ballard said. So what I would do is I would kind of approach it like in the Moneyball stance of just get guys who fit what we need. We need guys who can win quickly and have a lot of speed and explosion off the ball. So get, these young guys who are like 25, 26, 27 coming off their rookie contracts, and just hope that you can get more out of them in this system than what they got out of their last system. I think that's the better bet for the Colts. Would that fix their pass rush? We'll see. Probably not. You probably need a little bit more. You probably need that contract year jump from Atatomiwa. You probably need that year 3 jump from Leatu Latu. You probably need DeForest Buckner to come back healthy, but it's a start. It's probably still better than rolling out 30-year-old Ebukam coming off an Achilles tear. It's probably better than rolling out Tyquan Lewis, who's been regressing for the last 3 or 4 years. So it would at least be a start in the right direction, even if it doesn't fully fix the pass rush room. So I think they can go a patchwork way about it in the free agent process, but overall, that's more the route I would go with edge, is more free agents, and then maybe if you find a good shot in like 4th or 5th round to get another athletic guy in here, I would go that route, but mostly free agency is where I'd go with upgrading the edge rush room. But coming up, guys, we have more questions to dive into that you guys sent us last week. So coming up, we're going to just go into more of those and talk about how the Colts can continually add on this defense, potential scapegoats, and why Chris Ballard just loves those Achilles tears across the roster. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. Hey guys, the draft pick positions are set to go. And go ahead and enjoy that 16th overall pick, New York. And so many teams are looking for their franchise quarterback. Ever wish to become a pro quarterback yourself, getting drafted 1st overall by the Colts? Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number 1 draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead the team to greatness to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. This is the number 1 quarterback career mode game on the mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. Sign contracts, train and upgrade yourself, build chemistry, and evolve your teammates. Give input to your general manager on roster moves, play the actual games in 2D, and rise through the ranks to become a pro football legend. You'll deal with the ups and the downs of a QB career, from rookie nerves to playoff games, and every choice shapes your journey. Ultimate QB is totally free to play, has no ads, and works 100% offline. Perfect when you want to sneak in a quick game or two on the go. So just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. And we've got something special just for you guys. Use the promo code LOCKEDON in all caps in the game store and get a free boost at the start of your career. That's Ultimate QB, football legend, QB1. It's in your legacy. And guys, the big game is almost here, and there's no better way to stay locked into every moment with Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where it always feels good to be right. With football season coming down to its final stretch, now's the perfect time to close it out strong. Prize Picks makes watching the game even more exciting by letting you build simple lineups around player projections. No drafts, no waiting, just football action all the way through the playoffs. Favorite feature for me? Early payouts, which lets you cash out if a player gets off to that hot start and you're not feeling like it's going to finish off too well. The new social feed also makes it really fun to follow friends, share lineups, and get inspiration from other players across the app. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Colts your first listen today and every day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our Everydayer clubs. You can catch the audio ad-free and get an invite to a members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for our listeners of our show. Me and Jake are pretty active in there as well, so definitely check that out. So go to lockedoncolts.supercast.com to join or even gift a subscription over there. All right, guys, we're back into our Q&A questions from last week, diving into some of your guys' big topics heading into the offseason. And our next one here, after every season, someone becomes a scapegoat instead of Chris Ballard. It's been Gus Bradley, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Frank Reich. I almost said Frank Ballard, Frank Reich, and Matt Eberflus. Who is he going to make the scapegoat this offseason? Anthony Richardson, Zaire Franklin, or maybe just the D-line in general? Who is going to be the scapegoat? Jason Scott is definitely fed up with the Chris Ballard era. But yeah, I think it's a good question because there has always been a scapegoat with Chris Ballard. You know, again, it's mostly been the quarterbacks. It's been Carson Wentz. It's been Richardson in the past. It's been all these different quarterbacks. And we've even had seep over to the coaching staff with Frank Reich and Matt Eberflus and Gus Bradley as well. I don't know if there's too much of a scapegoat. I think just the injuries are kind of the scapegoat this offseason. It seems to be, you know, they want to come out here and say like, oh, injuries are never excused. It's not the injury's fault. But by running everything back and kind of bringing back a lot of the same faces, and outside of maybe getting a little bit younger and faster on defense, I think they're kind of saying that the injuries are the scapegoat. So that's probably your answer this offseason, Jason, is the Chris Ballard scapegoat of the offseason is injuries. I don't fully buy it, but it is what it is. I think that's kind of what they're trying to sell us on this offseason. Next question here. Why do the Colts and Chris Ballard treat Achilles tears like they're as severe as a stub toe? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know why Chris Ballard is so insistent on bringing guys back off of Achilles tear. I mean, you get them at more of a discounted price. Like we saw them get, you know, Marlon Mack coming off a 1,000-yard season, followed up with an Achilles tear the next season. They got him back at a very cheap price, and he didn't really do anything for the team after that. He barely played due to the injury issues, and basically was out of the league after that. Dallas Flowers coming back off his Achilles tear. They got Eric Fisher at a discounted price off his Achilles tear. Samson Ebukam, they paid him the rest of his contract off his Achilles tear. Julian Blackmon coming off his started some seasons for the Colts. And all of these Achilles tears led to the same result, which is just not good production for what the Colts needed. So I don't know why they don't take it seriously. Like, I'm not saying cut rookie contract guys coming off Achilles tears because you never know with them, but maybe if a guy's on a second contract or you have an out in a contract and a guy has an Achilles tear, or, you know, free agent tackle that's out there coming off an Achilles tear for a reason, like Eric Fisher, maybe don't sign him. So yeah, I'm just not a fan of dealing with the Achilles tear. Again, I will say with Daniel Jones, there's not a ton of data when it comes to quarterbacks coming off it, so maybe that can be an exception, but you guys know my stance when it comes to Achilles tears. I'm not a huge fan. Next question, though, that he has is, seriously, the schedule is tougher, especially in the outdoor games. the QB has one leg, and we're hoping this team will never fold late in game. Give me some hope for next season. Well, Philip, who asked that question, I will say I don't view the schedule as tougher next season. I think people are forgetting that the Colts played against 9 teams with 10 plus wins this past year. And one of the teams they played against that didn't get to 10 wins was the Kansas City Chiefs with Pat Mahomes. Like they were a 6-win team this year, but they still had Pat Mahomes at quarterback when the Colts played them, and that was in Arrowhead. So the Colts, yeah, they did have that easy part of the schedule to start the year, but they played against like 9 teams that won 10 or more games. They played against a lot of teams that were good football teams, and they played against 17 starting quarterbacks throughout the year. Again, most teams will play against some backup quarterbacks here or there and get some wins that maybe they don't deserve because of that. But the Colts played against every team starting quarterback, or at least the better of their quarterbacks. Like the Cardinals game, they played against the Cardinals backup quarterback, but Brissett was much better than Kyler Murray this season. So I think that the schedule just lessens up a bit next year. I mean, you get Baltimore, who won't have John Harbaugh as the head coach. You get Pittsburgh, who, they're kind of in this turmoil right now of where they're going to go with their franchise. You get Cleveland and Cincinnati, who just aren't world beater teams. You get the NFC East with whatever the heck's going on with the Commanders, and the Giants have not been a good football team. The Cowboys don't invoke any fear at this point, especially with their defense. And the Eagles are kind of a mess from top to bottom as well. Like, I don't view this as a tougher schedule than they just played the NFC West and the AFC West, 2 of the best divisions in football. Like there was 5 playoff teams in those 2 divisions. I don't think they're going to play against 5 playoff teams across the 2 divisions they play next year. So I think the schedule is much easier for the Colts next season. I do think there is legitimate fear with the quarterback injury, with the Achilles tear that Daniel Jones is coming off of. But again, there's not a ton of data when it comes to quarterbacks coming off Achilles tears, so we can't really say for certain what he's going to look like. So yeah, I'm not saying it's hopeless for next season. So to give you some hope, I mean, again, if Sauce Gardner can stay healthy for a whole year, if DeForest Buckner can get back out there on the field, if they find a quality linebacker in the draft and they have this easier schedule, then sure, they can get a couple bounces to go their way and get into that double-digit wins. I think another important note, too, is like we typically see from year to year in the NFL, when it comes to one-score game regression and negative regression and positive regression, is typically if a team one season is like winning their one-score games at such a super low rate, usually it reverses the next season. That's why like people who bet on NFL records in the preseason will typically bet on teams that were like 1-8 in one-score games one year, because the odds are it's going to flip on its head the next year and they'll be a good team. The Colts were 2-7 in one-score games this past season. Odds are that's going to flip in some degree the next season. Maybe not to be 7-2, but maybe they can be 6-3, 5-4, even more like 5-5. You can be a 5-5 team in one-score games, and that can flip your record on its head and be a team that can make the playoffs. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom for the Colts next year. I'm not going to sit here and sell you guys on some crazy optimism, but I don't think it's completely all doom and gloom. I think that there are some positive aspects to this team, and as long as they can stay healthy and Jones can be like 80 to 90% of what he was this past year, I think they can win some games in 2026. The last question here, though, Chris Ballard mentioned the running game needs to be better. I believe he was focused on the second half of the season. If Jones is hindered, though, with his legs, how do you address that? Is that the issue, or did JT just fall off a lot? I think there's a lot of factors here. One being that teams are really keyed in on the running game, and with Daniel Jones having the fibula injury, which limited his ability to do the play action game, along with the Achilles tear that led to Phillip Rivers being out there, the running game just fell off a cliff because they just had no answers to get back under center. This team wants to be an under center football team going forward. They at least want to lean into that on the early downs and build their shot plays off of play action. So for the Colts, I think it's just, again, like if Jones can be at like 85 to 90% of what he was coming off the Achilles tear, then I think you can get back into this running game. But I think it would be wise for the Colts to invest in a stable RB2 this offseason, whether it's another draft pick, whether it's, buying low on a free agent that's going to be out there, like on a 1-year deal, just to spell Jonathan Taylor. I think there are avenues to get another running back in here just to keep Taylor fresh and keep him going. But I'm not too concerned about the running game. Like, obviously, you got to get a better push up front, but when you're down to your QB3, your QB4, whatever it was with the Colts, it is hard to run the football. It's just how it is in this league. So I think they'll be better next season. I'm not too concerned about the running game when it comes to 2026. But that is all we have for questions, guys. I want to shout out all the people who asked questions last week. We were able to fill 2 shows on it, so really appreciate you guys, and keep asking through the Everydayer Club and all the social media platforms. But coming up, we're going to introduce a new segment to the show called Prospect Spotlight, where Jake and I give our sell for a prospect we like in the 2026 draft. And my topical choice for this episode is Omar Cooper Jr., Indiana wide receiver, who hasn't declared for the draft yet, but I'm really hoping. We're going to talk about him here in just a second. But first, FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts, so you can apply the bets the way that you like. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boost you want to apply to your squad. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. You make your picks, then you apply your profit boost to go even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, just grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Alrighty, Locked On Colts Everydayers, we are back with a new segment here on the show, and we're going to try to end off a lot of our third segments for our daily shows this offseason by putting a spotlight on a player in the upcoming draft. The Colts don't have a first-round pick this offseason, so we want to get you guys more in touch with the depth of this draft class. And with this series, we're going to get you guys these spotlights on nearly 100 players, maybe even more than 100 players if we take this all the way to draft day. So we're going to give our sell to you guys, and you guys can let us know in the comments section below what you think about that player. But my first sell is a player who hasn't declared for the draft yet, and it could really burn me here in the next couple of days if he doesn't. But Indiana wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr. I know a lot of you guys have been watching Indiana football. They play in the national championship game tonight, and one of my favorite players on the team has been Cooper Jr., with how he has played throughout the year. Born in Indianapolis, Indiana, went to Lawrence North High School. So remember last time we were all clamoring for an Indianapolis-born wide receiver to come to the Colts, and how well that guy turned out for Washington. I'm a big fan of Cooper and what he could bring to the team. He was a 4-star recruit that committed to Indiana out of high school, so he wasn't one of their big transfer guys. He got his big break in 2024 when he was a big play receiver, 28 receptions for 594 yards. That's 21.7 yards per reception and 7 touchdowns. Very Alec Pierce-like with those numbers that year. But in 2025, he exploded for this all-around game that I don't know if many people were obviously a highly touted recruit, so he was very capable of it, but 64 receptions for 866 yards and 13 touchdowns this year. Pro Football Focus has him with just 4 drops over the last 2 seasons, and in contested catch situations, he was 13 of 25 since 2024, so his last 2 years. 24 missed tackles forced after the catch this past season, though, and I think a lot of you guys were seeing that on Saturdays this year on his ability to catch the football, quickly turn, and make guys miss in the open field. I'm a huge fan of his film. His film is a blast. He's a player to me, when you watch him on tape and when you watch him, again, on Saturdays like you guys have been doing all season long, he's a guy where he's not like a 10 out of 10 across the board, right? Like he's got good speed, like very good speed, very good athleticism. He's got a good catch radius, but not a great catch radius. Good body control, but I wouldn't say it's like, the greatest body control in the world. But the 2 attributes that just stand out when you watch him on film are his hands and his ability to make guys miss after the catch. And I think that really shows in the advanced stats when it comes to him. His hands are phenomenal. Obviously, the Penn State game, making that big catch down at the end of the game, just being able to, again, the catch radius might not be where it is with Alec Pierce, where Alec Pierce has this 40-inch vertical. Basketball player can go up and get everything. But if that ball is in Omar Cooper Jr.'s vicinity, he's going to catch that football. Very reliable hands, very strong hands, can catch it in traffic. The over 50% contested catch rate is very good for a player of his caliber. And then the ability to make guys miss after the catch, I think projects so well as like a punt and kick returner early, with that ability to make guys miss and just find the soft spots and defenses when it comes to creation with the ball in his hands, moves like a running back in a lot of ways. So the film is very, very fun with Omar Cooper Jr. My pro comp for him is Parker Washington, a player with the Jacksonville Jaguars who just exploded this past season for the Jaguars with his ability just to bring it in so many different facets for that offense. I think Cooper Jr. can do the same thing. I mean, I project him on day one to be like a punt returner type guy and a rotational guy on offense that gets like 30 to 40% of the offensive snaps. And then by year two, I think he can be a starting wide receiver in this league. So a lot of sites have Cooper Jr. as more of a late day 2, early day 3 wide receiver pick. So maybe he does go back to college because of those projections. But for me, this is a player I want on my football team. He just has the intensity I want. He has the attributes I'm looking for, where again, like maybe he's not open every single play, but if you give him a chance to make a play on the ball, he's going to make that play. He's going to have the strong hands to complete the catch. And then if you give him any little bit of space, he's going to create extra yardage for your offense. I think in a world where the Colts could move on from Michael Pittman Jr. this offseason, I think a player like Omar Cooper could be a perfect rotational guy with like an Ashton Dulin and Josh Downs to eat up those snaps and give productive play to the offense. And again, at the end of the day, you're going to get so many looks at this player from the Indiana Pro Day to the local Pro Day when you bring him in for that. He technically counts as a free top 30 visit because he's from Indianapolis. And he's a local guy. Like we need more Indianapolis-born guys because they want to stay here. You know, he gives you like Daniil Hunter. I remember when free agency he went back to Houston because that's where he's from. Cooper's been here his whole life or most of his life. Like, come on, you know, you want to keep him here in the state and make sure he definitely doesn't have to go anywhere. Overall, though, I think he'd just be an awesome fit in this system. A player, again, that can create after the catch, a guy who has just reliable hands and can catch in traffic. I think he can do everything that Michael Pittman Jr. brought to the Colts. But the creation after the catch could even be more special than what Pittman Jr. brought. So I am all for drafting this guy. I am going to call his house and beg him to declare to this draft so this segment isn't wasted. But even if he doesn't declare for this draft, we'll just copy and paste this segment to a show next offseason because I'm that big of a fan of him. I think he's an awesome player, and I think he would fit the Colts like a glove. But let me know in the comment section below what you think of Omar Cooper Jr. Am I way off or am I way on with his projection? I just see so much Parker Washington. I'm such a fan of Parker Washington that I'm all in on him as a player. But let me know in the comment section below. And thanks again for tuning in today to Locked On Colts. We'll be back tomorrow as well. So make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Colts where you get all the latest episodes. If you don't already, make sure you're following at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2, all on socials. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Colts ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and much more. Head to lockedoncolts.supercast.com to join the club. And for those of you on video, we're going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel on audio. Make sure you make your next listen a Locked On NFL podcast. Thank you guys for checking in today, and we'll catch you guys again back here tomorrow afternoon.